day and night. While people say to me continually, "Where is your God?" And from 1 Samuel 3, the Lord called Samuel again a third time, and he got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went down and lay down in his place.
Blessed are the lost. I hadn't meant to wander off. I wasn't even sure how I had, but I found myself alone on a foreign road. My only luggage, a heart packed full of fear and longing for anything familiar. When you find yourself alone, aren't you surely lost? I cried out to God to be there, to hold my hand, to keep me safe, to show me the way home. As I walked, I passed strangers who seemed to know this place, but they didn't know where I was going. They didn't know where I was from, so they couldn't help me. The wind blew colder, my heart was sinking, searching, aching for just a sign of what I needed to do, where I needed to go, when a stranger gave me their mittens. I stood in stunned silence at the kindness, the sacrifice, as I slipped my hands into their warmth. The clouds rolled in, and the sky threatened to break open, sending me searching for cover, anything to shelter me from the elements, when a stranger gave me their umbrella. Again, my stunned silence, again the kindness, the sacrifice, and I stood in its shelter. I continued on my unplanned detour, still not a clue where I was, when a gust of wind ripped the umbrella from my grasp. I chased it, but couldn't catch it. Stopping, I asked God, why? Crying, I asked God, where? And a light shone through parting clouds, dawning in my heart. Nothing can separate us from the love of God, and nothing can be hidden that isn't brought into the light. He had held my hand in a neighbor's mittens. He had kept me safe and dry with a neighbor's umbrella. And I was shown that strangers are only neighbors I haven't met yet. And the unfamiliar is no less home. Wherever I am on my journey with God, because He is always with His children. Blessed are the lost, for they find they are home.
Let's see. I have a couple of questions, really one main question for everyone today that I think we'll all be able to answer in some sort of way. And so the question is this: which one are you? And we're going to get to that. Which one are you? So you're driving to a destination that you've never been to, and you feel certain that you know exactly how to get there and the best route to take, and suddenly you get this gut check, right? Maybe you're with some fun passengers and you're singing or you're playing car games. And suddenly, they come to a halt as you see that the further you go toward your destination, Your surroundings seem to be very odd and not at all like you're heading the right way. So which one are you? You're lost. You have some choices. The first, perhaps, is the willingness to admit you're lost. That's not me. So are you the person who is willing to listen to someone riding with you and admit you're lost? Or are you willing to keep on passing exits to turn around because you cannot be convinced that you have possibly made a wrong turn?
Hear, hear.
Yes, I'm not alone. A lot of time gets wasted when we do this. I understand that. Especially when we cannot admit that we are on the wrong path, right? No matter how long it takes for us to admit that we're lost, eventually we're going to have to accept it and move on. Sometimes it takes a while to admit that. So the choices continue, right? What do you do about being lost? So again, I ask, which one are you? Are you the one who looks for some kind of sign of life to ask for directions? Or are you the one who exercises full control by exerting all the efforts for finding the correct path yourself? No need to stop and ask for directions. That's me. What might it mean to respond to these in different ways? You see, recognizing that we're lost means recognizing that we are vulnerable, doesn't it? That we are in a strange and uncomfortable and maybe even an unsafe territory. I recall the time when I got off 2 exits too early and found myself in the middle of East St. Louis. That'll get you open. But I really want to share with you a time when when I say we, I mean my wife and I, and our at that time toddler son, were walking through the woods on a path at the state park at Lake of the Ozarks. We went to the state park and we loved to camp, and so that's what we were doing. And we decided it was pretty nice one day. I mean, it was hot, it was summer. And so we decided we should just find one of these trailheads and go for a nice little hike. That would be fun to do. First of all, toddler, remember that, okay? So as we're going, we're realizing it is hot, and our toddler son, takes about 20 steps to my one, and so we end up having to carry him a lot. And we're walking through this path, and Amanda and I are trying to switch off kind of turns, carrying our son, and we're walking through these woods, and we're following what seems to be the right path, and I think at one point I turned left, and I thought this was the way the path went, because there wasn't really a marker, but it looked good to me, so I went that way. And then we followed this path for a while, and we start seeing the trees around us, and it's really beautiful. We're having a good time, kind of lost in the moment. And slowly but surely, this path starts going from here to game trail. That's what it was. It was a game trail. And we are so deep in the woods now that we realize we should probably find our way out. I did not want to admit that I was lost, but I'm sure, 100% sure, that my wife turned to me and said, "We're lost." And she wasn't very happy with me. But it happens. And so I said, okay, let's turn around, let's try to find our way back. And I think we found what seemed to be another game trail, which wasn't the original one we went on, and we found ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper in the woods with our toddler son, not expecting to be gone for more than 45 minutes, and we only had, I think, a bottle of water between the three of us in the middle of summer. And we began to be worried because we were lost. And there was no one to ask for directions. And there we were, in the woods, lost. I don't want to tell you the end of that story yet, but I will come back to it. Because I think it's important to understand that we all can be there sometime. On a path we seem is heading the right way, and we find ourselves lost. It seems as if our scripture story today from 1 Samuel has some similarities. Now, Samuel isn't lost in the woods, but he too was trying to find his way. He too had to rely on something beyond his sight to lead him home. So let's look at that story just a bit. I'd like to first give you some background on Samuel. Some of you might recall that he was the firstborn son of Hannah. And Hannah shared a husband with another woman, which is a completely different subject, but happens a lot in Scripture. Hannah is described as the favorite wife of her husband. She is barren. While the other wife had many children. And so in the ancient community, one of the basic sole purpose of a woman was to do just that, bear children. Hannah could not do that. So as the story unfolds, Hannah asked God for a child, and she conceived Samuel. And just as she promised God, as soon as Hannah was able to wean Samuel, she took him to a priest, but not just for a dedication. She left him there for good. See, there's a lot of lost people in this story, and you'll see them as we move along. Hannah was in the Darkwoods of being lost, barren without hope of her own children. And after a time, she did become pregnant and got out of these dark woods of infertility, only to find herself back in these same dark woods after giving up her only child Samuel to be of service to the high priest. Now in our time, it'd be kind of like waiting for a child to come into our life, and as soon as they do, we ship them off to a religious boarding school until they've graduated, only seeing them once a year. And I think about this and I wonder, how might the child feel? How do you think Samuel felt? Think he ever felt lost? He was just a kid, and suddenly he discovers his mother has left him to pursue a life that he didn't ask for with someone that he didn't even know. Do you think he felt alone, or uncertain, or frustrated? Then there was Eli. In our story, he had sons of his own, but Eli's sons had not taken up with his father's religious teaching. In fact, we learn that his sons were scoundrels with no regard for the Lord. The wicked sons of Eli made a mockery of Eli's religious rituals and Eli's beliefs. Lost sons and a lost father who was no doubt heartbroken that his sons were wandering from God's purpose. I said there's a lot of lost people here. An infertile woman, a little boy away from home, a high priest with wayward sons. In the dark woods of being lost, were there and are there any gifts to have? How might we find them? What I find interesting in reading this story and in my own experience of literally being lost in the dark woods is that we don't find our way by sight, at least physical sight. When we're literally lost in the woods or on the road, sure, we use our sight to help us relocate ourselves, to find the right direction, or to find someone to ask for help. But when we are spiritually lost, eyesight is not our go-to sense. And so we go back to our story in Samuel when Hannah was so burdened because she didn't have a child of her own. When she was distraught beyond words, she went to the temple to pray. In her Darkwood moment of being lost, Hannah intentionally placed herself in a place where she could pour out her heart to God. A God she could not see, but a God that she could hear. Have you ever had that happen in your life? This unseen God just shows up. It happened to Eli and Samuel as well, starting with 1 Samuel 3:2. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim so that he could not see, was lying down in his room. The lamp of God had not yet gone out. I want you to hold on to that picture before we move on to Scripture here. Eli, blind, but the lamp of God had not gone out. So let's read on. It Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called, "Samuel, Samuel!" And he said, "Here I am," and ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call, lie down again." So he went and lay down. The Lord called, "Samuel!" Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call, my son. Lie down again." Now Samuel did not know the Lord yet, and the word of the Lord had not been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel again a third time, and he got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go lay down. And if he calls you, you shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood there, calling as before, "Samuel, Samuel!" Samuel said, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Now it took a while, but once again an unseen God shows up and is visible. Hannah couldn't see God, but felt God. Eli couldn't see God, but Eli could distinguish God's voice speaking to Samuel because he had heard God's voice all of his life. Samuel couldn't see God and continued to mistake God's voice for Eli's. You ever mistaken God's voice in your life? Samuel ran to Eli 3 times in a row before finally on the 4th time Samuel could recognize God's voice and said, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Now in the story I shared about my experience of being lost, I can remember again looking at the trees and the rocks and the streams and trying to see with my own eyes a way out. I couldn't find one. Until eventually we followed this little game trail and it opened up a little bit. Just a little bit. And I saw the remnants of what used to be a campfire. As if maybe someone who was backpacking went through this area and stopped for the night. And so we all stopped and sat for a moment. And thought, which way? Breathe. Think. Take a calm moment to reflect about where you've been and where you are. The question, where's the road? It's south. Head south. And we found it. Found the road that led to the car that led us out of those woods. The gift of the Darkwoods and the state park for me was to learn to, first of all, pay more attention. To not ignore the scenery and the path markers and to pack more water than we should need. And when you've gone too far in the Darkwoods, to just stop, to breathe, to think, and to pray. When Hannah was in her dark woods of infertility and not feeling good enough, she made a choice to commune with God. She practiced her faith. She made going to church and becoming part of a community a priority so that she could be surrounded not only by God's presence, but so that she could be surrounded and embraced and guided by people of faith. Embrace, acceptance, intentionality, all gifts of being lost. When Eli was distraught about his own sons and failing eyesight later in his life, when Eli felt that his contribution to the world and efforts to develop an understudy priest because of his own sons that had rebelled, Eli opened himself to accept a young boy, Samuel, under his wings. I wonder if this speaks some reality that in our Darkwood moments of being abandoned by our own families, that we might find true meaning of family with one another. I wonder if this might speak to the reality that because of our moments of the Darkwod of being lost, because of our journey didn't turn out as planned, God opens a possibility on a different route. A route that we had not anticipated, and to be honest, if we had, we probably wouldn't have taken it. Gifts of the Darkwood. Samuel, a small boy, no doubt yearning for parental connection since his own parents were far away from him. They only saw him once a year when they came to the temple to bring him hand-sewn clothes they had made. Samuel, unsure of his future and away from his closest family, he too found himself in these dark woods of being lost and lonely and filled with anxieties about his future. Could this possibly speak to us today in our own Darkwood feelings of being lost without purpose, changing relationships, unsure finances? When Samuel was finally able to hear a God he could not see, he was instantly transformed into accepting and answering God's call for his life. Instantly. Speak, God. I'm listening now. Openness, possibility, gifts of the Darkwood. So may we too discover such an unseen God as we join Hannah and Samuel and Eli and a pastor who doesn't like to admit when he's lost, to find these gifts of the Darkwood.